Well, thank you so much for all the introductions in chat. Please keep those going. We would like to know where, guys, you are joining us from. So from what I see, we have a very diverse audience. We have participants from Pakistan and Vietnam and Myanmar and Kenya and Nigeria, the United States. So I think pretty much between all of us, we'll cover all parts of the world. But I look at the clock and it seems like it's time for us to start. So dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th Grow, Learn, Connect webinar. And today, with your permission, I would like to skip our housekeeping rules. I'm pretty sure that by now you know them better than me. So I will start immediately with a few exciting announcements. And first and foremost, I'm very, very happy to let you know that Grow, Learn, Connect has finally launched its own group on LinkedIn. And now it's been long overdue, and we have been planning this for a very long time. But this is finally done. The page is up and running, and I bet most of you have actually profiles on LinkedIn. So I would encourage you all to join the group. I will share the link in chat a little bit later, and we'll also include it in our follow-up email to you. So please join the group, start following our announcements, participate in discussions, and of course also share your content that you think might be of interest to the GLC training community. Now, last time we announced that we launched the calendar of events, so I wanted to quickly highlight a couple of events that have been added to our calendar. And first of all, on July 1st, our French-speaking master trainer, Aïssa Diallo, will conduct a webinar in French. So it sounds as compétences avancées pour l'animation en ligne, pardon my French. And it translates as advanced online facilitation skills. So this webinar was developed by a GLC as a sequence to the Engaging Participants online webinar. And it teaches participants some advanced online facilitation skills, such as the use of breakout rooms, whiteboards, polls. So if you think that you haven't quite mastered those skills yet, and you would like to attend the webinar in French, we'll be sending out the invite very, very soon. So once again, this session is scheduled for July 1st, 10 a.m. EDT, and we will include all these details in our invites. The second announcement I wanted to make today is that our master trainer, Rohit Agarwal, is launching a very interesting and very intensive training program. This training program was developed again by GLC. It's called Facilitating Learning Online and in Person. So this session was already developed twice, I think, right? And from what I know, it has been highly praised by both aspiring and seasoned training professionals. So we encourage you all to look into details on the GLC platform. And if it sounds something of interest to you, the cutoff date is July 5th. I just wanted to let you know that this program teaches both face-to-face and live online training skills. So this is one of the one of the distinguishing differences between that session and what we traditionally call FFF, or facilitating face-to-face learning. So once again, here you will learn both face-to-face and live online training skills. This program will be conducted online. And again, that's another difference with the FFF, which is traditionally conducted in the face-to-face mode. And this program will be delivered over the period of 8 sessions. And in between the sessions, participants will be expected to complete self-study work, participate in group exercises, and at the end of the session, participants who are willing to get certified will get that opportunity. They will be assessed towards the IFC, LPI, TPMA trainer certification. So once again, if that sounds of interest to you, we encourage you all to apply by July 5th. And since we're talking about the calendar, I just wanted to once again remind everyone that our calendar of events is open to all training professionals to contribute and to benefit. So if you're organizing some training sessions or networking events or conferences that would be of interest to the GLC training community, please don't be shy, add them to the calendar so that everyone can benefit, okay? Now, last month, we also announced that we launched the blog, and so far we have received very, very many, not very many, but some interesting articles. So here I decided to list some of the recent ones which caught my attention. So one of the recent ones include, is your custom training hitting the mark? So here the author talks about collaboration between subject matter experts and instructional designers, and also gives some advice to subject matter experts to make sure that the training that was developed by instructional designers fully hits the mark. The other blog is about ISO quality instruction designers, where the author talks about different qualities and abilities that instruction designers should possess. So please check it out. Two other articles, Why Should We Keep Learning and Where Are We Going, were written in Arabic. So I hope that will be especially of interest to the Arabic speaking audience today. And yet I wanted to emphasize that language should no longer be a barrier for you. So once I don't speak Arabic, and yet I was able to read and enjoy both of these articles. So essentially what happens is once you navigate to the page that is written in the language that is not your default language in your browser or your computer, the system will automatically detect it and it will offer you to translate that article into your native language. So I hope that will be very helpful. Don't be shy, please go ahead and check out all the articles, no matter what language they were written. But we do believe that for some master trainers or other trainers, it might be just easier to express themselves in their native language. So once again, we will welcome all publications, no matter what language, okay? All right, and now I think it's time to get back to our today's webinar. So let me move to another slide. So today's webinar is called Mixing It Up, Blending Learning Options for the Online Classroom. And as we emphasized in our invitation, this webinar builds on the self-paced course with the same title that was developed as part of the Converting Training for Online Learning series. And that series was developed to provide guidance for training professionals who are faced with the task of converting face-to-face training to a virtual setting. And as far as the presenter is concerned, I don't really think that Mandy Grant needs to be introduced. We all had the pleasure of learning from her a couple of months ago when she delivered the webinar Considerations for Moving the Classroom Online. And yet, so let me just remind you that Mandy Grant is an ISO certified master trainer in designing learning. And in fact, she is the only master trainer with that certification, which of course is well-deserved. Mandy has over 20 years of instructional design, training facilitation, and management consulting experience. And together with her husband, she founded a management consulting company, The Covenant Consulting, which, by the way, was one of the first to become signatories to the GLC Principles for Learning. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mandy. Mandy, let's cook something delicious today.
Thank you so much, Anna. Hello, everyone. We have folks from all over the world on, and that is so exciting to me. I'm joining you from Oklahoma in the United States. And let me switch over to my presentation. Today, we are going to talk about something that is especially near and dear to my heart. I have been passionate about blended online learning, you wouldn't even believe, since 1998. It wasn't even really a thing back then, but my journey began all the way back then when I did my master's level thesis on technology and education, and really thinking about bringing the education environment that we're normally in the classroom onto technology just at the beginning of when we just started emailing and we just started having Microsoft Office and things like that. I thought, you know what, we need to be bringing on our learning into the technology realm. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to share more about my journey, and I want to learn about yours as well. How many of you like to be creative in the kitchen? Give me a yes in the chat box if you like to be creative in the kitchen. Ah, Saint does. Ajola does. Shilpa does. Anna does. Nelson does. That's wonderful. It's one of my favorite places to be creative. Really, I'm not a creative person. Outside of instructional design and the kitchen, I can't draw a picture, can't paint, can't do any of those things, but I love to be creative in the kitchen. Have you ever made a fruit smoothie? Now, I've traveled to every continent except for one, Antarctica, and every continent I've had a fruit smoothie on. So give me a yes in the chat box if you have made a fruit smoothie? Wonderful. All right. Well, if you haven't yet, maybe you'll be wanting to this afternoon. Just like a smoothie has ingredients that you carefully choose, recipes of sorts, at least in your mind, the execution of making it in a blended learning course has those elements as well. So, when I say blended learning, though, I want to make sure that we all understand what blended learning is. I'm referring to a course that has multiple elements. Just like a fruit smoothie, you'd put different fruits in, maybe different spices, different herbs, water, ice, different things into it. A blended course has multiple elements, usually over multiple sessions, and it's used together to achieve the course objective. So in this webinar, we're going to focus on blended learning in the virtual environment. But blended learning doesn't have to always be fully virtual. You could have blended independent learning and then group learning, even doing it all online, or you could have it classroom and some virtual. We'll just talk about mostly virtual today. It's not a very new topic, though we think it is. COVID pushed us all into developing online learning, but this has been around. Most school models are actually set up as blended learning, right? When you went to school, you had classroom time with your teacher. You probably had group work with your participant, with your classmates. You had independent work you did there at school, and then you went home and did homework. That's blended learning. So blended learning has also been in the virtual environment for quite a while. Universities have been using this for quite a while. Let's see, 2002, I did my master's completely online in a blended virtual learning environment. So it's been around for learning for a while, and we're just now kind of really bringing it into the corporate setting for our clients. So we're going to talk about it today. Most of you likely are instructional designers, but if you're not yet, this webinar is going to put you in the shoes of an instructional designer. An instructional designer blended virtual course, you're the chef. You're the chef of your course, mastering the options, inventing the recipe, executing the mix. Today we're going to have an interactive time learning some tips to mix it up. This is based on the self-study course available on Grow, Learn, Connect. And Anna mentioned this earlier. Let me show you how to get there so that you can find it yourself, because this course is going to be an overview. If you want to dive deep, if you want to get some of the tools, some of the templates, some of the other information and dive deeper into it, or just refresh yourself on what we talked about today, you'll want to go online. So let me show you how to do that. So we're in the Grow, Learn, Connect website, and you're going to go to Learn and Learn by Job Function. You come down here. Remember I said we're going to talk about being an instructional designer today, so this is focused on instructional designers. So you can click on instructional designer, and then right here in the middle you can see the converting training for online learning. This is the last of the series of those online learning classes. So here you can see the mixing it up down here. Anna mentioned a few months ago, I taught the considerations for moving the classroom online, and then the other two are available in a webinar format as well, if you'd like to see those, so that you're able to see both ways. But we've got you covered on the converting your classroom training. Let me switch back over. All right. All right. I'd like to know a little bit more about who we have in our audience today. I've seen you post in your greetings and where you're from, but I have a question for you. Which best describes you? Are you number one, just getting your hands dirty like this little boy in the left with blended learning? Or maybe two, you're an amateur cook learning the professional skills of blended learning, or maybe you're a professional at blending and you want to fine tune your skills. Share with us in the chat whether you're a 1, 2, or a 3. Oh, wow. We've got a smattering of everyone. We've got some experts out there. So I'll be involving you and wanting to hear from you. We've got some folks who have some experience and want to continue building on it. I'm excited. Wow, we've got a wide range. Thank you, everyone, for answering. And we'll want to hear from everybody today. All right, so we're going to master the options, we're going to invent the recipe, and execute the mix. That's how we're going to flow through today. Some ground rules. Anna covered a few of these with us already, but we want to participate. I want to hear from you. You guys have been great in the chat so far, so let's keep that going. And let's respect each other, which I am confident you will. And you are on mute right now. If we're going to hold the questions until the end. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat window at any time, and Anna's going to collect those for me to answer at the end, or at the very end, we can unmute our mics and ask questions as well. Sound okay? Put a yes in the chat if that's good for you. All right. All right, so our first question, yes with an exclamation point. I love it, Quasi. All right, so what are the benefits of blended learning? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat. What do you see as the benefits of blended learning? All right, saving cost and time. Boy, those travel costs. We covered that a lot in the considerations course that I did a few months ago. Inclusive learning. I love that. I totally agree. It's flexible. Absolutely. You can do time management for your own self at your own speed, and it's efficient on time. That's a great one. I like that. Wide exposure to learning techniques. No limitations or boundaries. Faith, you must know where I'm going. It improves your confidence because you get to learn at your own pace. I love it. You can express yourself. You can take advantage of different types of learning. You can own your learning. That's excellent. Save on time, save on costs, have interaction, that communication. Great. That's exactly right. You guys nailed it. I agree. It allows you the flexibility to do all the things that you would do, that you could do. And you can put those, and we'll talk about picking the different pieces and what they can mean as you go along to really, I love that, enrich the learning experience. I totally agree. Wonderful. Let's look at our first topic on mastering the options. To be an instructional designer, it's like a chef. You've got to master the options available to you to create. So you need to have a firm hold of understanding of the options. Can you imagine being a chef and not knowing what flour was, or maybe not know how to use oil? Chefs need to have a firm grasp on their ingredients in order to be able to create something that's really tasty for the trainer and the participants to enjoy. So you need to have a clear understanding on the options. You can creatively mix for the trainer and participant. So we're going to get ready now to be creative once we know what we can do. And I already showed you on Grow, Learn, Connect, the previous courses actually have those how to get a grasp of your options. So the ones especially, well, the first one's considerations, and that one is, back up and look at just, whoa, I need to move this course online. What do I do? What do I think through? That's that first one. Then if you really are looking to specifically do something face-to-face, live online like we're doing right now, but with more interaction and training, then you want to look at the from live in the classroom to live online. Then if you also now want to look at the options for asynchronous learning where a learner's learning on their own, then you want to look at the creating the 24/7 classroom. And the last one on the bottom is the one we're doing now in an overview, so you can go back in and do a longer session on it as well. But this will help you to really get the grasp of those ingredients, understand what it is that you can be able to mix up. And Betsy, I see these are actually on the Grow, Learn, Connect website. You can see right there at the bottom. If you search under Learn and Learn by job function and instructional designer, they'll be right there. They're free to take. You can take them. You can have your folks take them. You can have other, use it as training for people in your company or those types of things. And then there's also a few of them available there to watch the recorded webinar. Once you get an understanding, now it's time to recreate it. So just like it's hard to create an interesting flavored smoothie when all you have is celery, classroom training allows you only one way to learn and have a learning environment and a method. That can be kind of constraining. So somebody earlier had said it's an enriching learning experience. I'd like to hear what constraints to your creativity you faced in designing for the classroom learning environment. We all think, oh, the classroom, we can do anything, we're face to face. But you know what? It has some constraints if you think about it. Let's see if anybody can name some. Go ahead and share in the chat. Oh, space. I agree. I designed a whole activity once for learning, for a face-to-face training, and we got into the training room and you couldn't even get up from the table because there was no room to walk around, and you couldn't even get up to use the restroom without everybody else getting up. So I couldn't do my big activity that you moved around in for sure. So that space is a great thing. Ooh, side conversations. Ooh, yes, people chit-chatting amongst themselves and diverting the attention. You have to do maybe smaller activities of shorter duration. You got some disturbing characters, I see. Yes, Deepa, you must have had some experience with that. Ambiance, oh, noise. I've had to teach with the window open, with no air conditioning, and the road noise was so loud that nobody could concentrate. Time, yes, you're limited by time in the classroom. That's exactly right. Weather, okay, so maybe I've also had to teach shouting over torrential downpours, which have made it a difficult thing, or have classes end early because of a snowstorm coming or a hurricane coming. Absolutely. Temperature, sure. Oh, COVID's been an interesting thing. Let's see. All right. Difficult to focus in an open area. Yes, you might not have a good private space to do the training. You might not have everything you need to do the training. That's also happened to me. I've gotten to a training and some things were supposed to arrive for me to be able to train, and they didn't arrive. So I had to improvise. Very good. So there's limitations in the classroom. So once you start to think about it, oh, wow, I can overcome these limitations in the online setting. Let's see. So I had, what else? Somebody said the participant's mindset. That was good. I had their unwillingness to do creative activities. Have you ever had a class that just wanted to sit there and didn't want to do what you had planned for them or what the instructional designer had scripted in? So you need to compact everything into that classroom time. But with virtual learning, you can overcome some of these options. Let's look at how you can be creative. Great answers, everybody. So when you are looking for how to convert, you have an extensive ability to be creative when blending for the virtual environment. You're no longer faced with these constraints you just listed, and you can expand the learning. Not only the learning, you can expand the practice and the application opportunities available to the participant. So when you're trying to convert classroom training to online learning, some instructional designers assume that you just look for what matches. So, okay, we did this one thing in the classroom. What exactly matches that in the virtual environment? Okay, I'm going to pick that. So, for instance, if they have a stalk of celery, like we talked about our celery smoothie a few minutes ago, they're going to look for a stalk of celery in the virtual environment. So this might look like instructor has a lecturing portion. Perhaps you have a little 3-minute lecturing portion in your instructor-led class, and you might automatically assume, well, I need to do something where the instructor lectures, so we'll put in a little webinar, or we will embed a video of the instructor talking. That's a same move, the same thing, have the same stick of celery. With that approach, you might end up with a bunch of ingredients that don't really go together and don't flow. Two things: enhance the learning experience and align with the functions and goals of the classroom course. You want to be thoughtful about your choices. Instead of sticking with a celery match, choose options that are going to enhance that learning experience. So maybe an apple, throwing an apple into that celery smoothie would make it a lot better. So just as each ingredient you would add to a smoothie would enhance the flavor, each mixing ingredient that you include in your blended learning should enhance the learning experience. Consider whether that ingredient you choose is going to help the participant move forward in their learning. Will they better learn the topic? Will they more deeply understand it? Will they be able to practice it? Will they be able to apply it? Will they enjoy considering it? Will they be able to act upon it? Think about each thing moving them along in the learning spectrum. If what you chose doesn't do that, don't include it. Each smoothie that you concoct is going to have a purpose. So maybe it's a meal substitute or a refreshing drink or dessert or an easy way to get your daily dose of veggies and fruit. So you would choose the ingredients that would support that purpose. Each item that you add to your blending learning should embody a function and a goal of the classroom course, but it might even be better achieved by a different method or with a different approach. So add an apple in instead. Let's try how that might look. So let's pretend you're asked to convert a multi-day classroom-based training on advanced training skills. Your stock of celery for this part is the classroom-based training. It's a whiteboard exercise or chart paper where they're brainstorming activity for trainers on how to respond to a know-it-all participant. Somebody mentioned participants that were a little unruly or had challenging characters or something, somebody said. So you've got this person who wants to talk and share their knowledge all the time, thinks they know it all. All right, so they're going to do in the classroom, they would have done a brainstorming exercise on chart paper or up on the whiteboard. What types of virtual blending options could you choose to accomplish that? So type in the chat, what's a virtual blended option for this classroom-based activity? We're doing one of them now. We're doing a webinar with chat brainstorming. What else? Yep, great. Perfect. What else could you do? Start to think about breakout sessions. Very good. Use some analogies. That's great. A jam board. Great. So that's like a whiteboard outside of your, it's on line and it acts like a whiteboard. Great. Whiteboard session, breakout sessions. Good. What else? Let's move out of the webinar environment. What else could you use? Remember, blended is probably a mix of things that are live and interactive and things that they do on their own. I don't know what a Mentimeter is, Quasi. Surveys? Okay, cool. I hadn't thought about that one, Angela. Use it as an icebreaker energizer. Good. How about Send them away to do homework and think about it and bring back the answers. Or a discussion board. If you joined us for the considerations course, I went on probably a little too long on discussion boards because they're my favorite thing. But discussion board is where you post a question, everyone answers back within that, and then can interact with each other like a live discussion, but held online. Great. Polls, a third party interactive. Oh, okay, great. That's what I meant to meters. Thank you. Okay, great. You've gotten some great examples of different interactive kind of whiteboarding tools that are out there. There's quite a few. There's ones that you do post-it notes on. There's different ones. It's great. And role plays. Oh, that's a good one. Very good. So there's lots of ways that you can be doing this that are not just the standard things that you have. You can send them away and do an article and to read an article, or maybe you have an e-learning on dealing with difficult participants that have scenarios and kind of role play, kind of case study things built into it. So you can do a whole bunch of things. Great brainstorming. You guys are being creative. Let's look at a few tips as we master the options. So use options that try to find a creative way to teach the topic, but also allow for practical application in as real of a situation as possible. So sometimes in the virtual environment, you can actually get closer to a real situation that you would be able to do in a classroom. For example, participants can move to different areas of their home, try something immediately at work, have access to their belongings, take time to think more critically about a topic, interact with their family members or friends or coworkers, visit a place or experience something that they were learning about, or explore a case study. They can do all of those things in the virtual environment because it depends on where they are, but they have the time, they have the ability to move around, which is different than the classroom. And allow the learners to interact with the subject matter on their own. This is important, on their own individually, together with others, and with the facilitators. So the great thing about not just having a webinar or not just having a e-learning, but blending things together, they can be able to interact with a topic 3 different ways. And that's really good because that layers your learning. So usually a blended course is done in a cohort so that you can have everybody on a webinar at the same time, or have everybody on a discussion board at the same time, or have them doing group projects at the same time. So you gather a group of people and they move through the course together. That's what a cohort is. So usually you need to do that for a blended learning approach. In the classroom, you might not have time to allow participants multiple interactions with a topic, but blending learning allows you to layer it. So that's really an awesome benefit. You also want to keep in mind the parameters of your learning system, your learning management system, and what they can support and what other things you might want to add on, which is fine, but avoid developing overcomplicated learning experiences and options that don't enhance the learning. So don't make something jazzy and exciting and complicated if you don't need to, because that might actually confuse your learners. It takes you more time, costs money, all that kind of stuff. Let me give you a couple more tips. So as you choose each mixing option, my overall tip for you is focus on using the best learning methods to equip your learner to apply what they learn in their life or on their job. If your participants can't move forward from your training with action, your training did not achieve its purpose. So you want to include a way to measure if they're ready to apply their learning and also whether they actually are applying it. So let's give another try at swapping out celery for an apple. Ready? All right, let's pretend your stock of celery from the classroom-based training is a small group problem solving based on a case study on the duration of adult learners can sit still. So it's a case study on how long adults can sit still when they're learning. What types of virtual blended options could you use to accomplish that? Let me see how creative you can get. All right, breakout rooms, group discussions. Homework, okay. Ask them questions, maybe a video, interesting, good. Group homework, homework before the training, okay. Breakout rooms and discussions, great. Pre-recorded video. How about some asynchronous ways? Do the discussion board, my favorite thing. An article to read on the case study. Time to share their experience. Yeah, I had, not sure what experience you're referring to, but I was thinking about, hey, they might be at home or at work or with family and friends. They could conduct an experiment and see how long people could sit still before they started fidgeting and come back. You can have e-learnings with a different scenarios and different durations between different kinesthetic movements. You could have e-learning on when and how to add in movement in your class. You could do, oh great, case study as homework and use whiteboard and virtual learning and a video that explains the topic. That's great. So you've got a lot of different things that you could put in. You can put some of those into synchronous learning. You could mix it between synchronous and asynchronous, but you could get a little bit more going than you probably could in the classroom and keep that creativity flowing. All right, let's keep using our creativity, and we're now going to talk about inventing the recipe. So once a chef has a mastery of those ingredients, and if you don't, again, if you don't feel like you have a mastery of the ingredients that you could use, go back to the previous e-learnings in this conversion series. Then you're ready to invent the recipe to create a culinary delight. So let's get back to the kitchen for our next question. All right, in the chat window, type what you consider when choosing or inventing a cooking recipe. What do you consider? Great answer so far. So what ingredients, maybe what ingredients do you have available on hand or do you know about? Who are you cooking for? Your target audience? Let's see, if you want to use something new, what you have the skill to be able to do. That's a good one. That's good. How much time do you have to be able to do it? How much what are the instructions on cooking time and temperature? Good. If you have any dietary needs, maybe you don't want as much sugar, or you have people that are allergic to something or a special diet, or maybe it's by taste and something you really like, or maybe it's something from your culture. That's great. Cost, okay. Cost of those ingredients, who it is, the nutritional value, nice. Okay, and the needs of your family members, whoever you're cooking for, very good. Think about what the final dish is going to look like, what the outcome is, how much calories it's got in it. Okay, great. So thinking about all of those different things, how much do you need to make of it? Very good. All right, good. Great answers. Is it going to be delicious? We don't want to make something that's going to be gross, right? We want to make it something that everybody will be able to enjoy. Very good. Okay, let's see how your answers, my answers matched up to you. So who are you cooking for? Many of you mentioned your target audience. So you were thinking about it like an instructional designer, very good. But if you're thinking about it from cooking, who are you cooking for and what do they like? Other people mentioned their needs, their Are they allergic to something? Do they like things in particular? Do they have a specific taste for it? Do they have any restrictions? Great, you're going to think about all those things. Why are you cooking? So you're thinking about, what am I making? Am I making this for a casual breakfast, or am I making this for important people to come over for dinner? You're thinking through all of those things. Am I making it for, somebody mentioned, how many people am I making it for? Am I making this for a big family reunion and I need to cook it for 50 people? Or is it just for myself for lunch? All right, what ingredients do you have available? Somebody mentioned that. That's great. So you don't want to run to the store. You don't want to call for groceries. You want to make what you have. So you look at what you have and think, now what can I make with it? All right, how much time do you have? Several of you mentioned that. That's great. You can make something that takes all day, or you might only have half an hour before your family's ready to eat and you need to make something more quickly. And how easy is it to make? Do you have that skill set to be able to make it? Is it something that's easy for you to do, or something that you're going to need to really think about and follow closely and relearn or learn a new skill to do? So all of those things are important when you're cooking, and they're also important when you are doing your blended learning. So let's look at some other things to consider. You might have picked some of these too. So how do things pair together? I didn't see that as much with everybody, but in a blended learning, remember, we're going to be putting multiple elements together. So you don't want to make something, perhaps maybe something from one culture background and then something from another, and maybe they kind of don't taste right together. Or you want to put something that looks right together in the plate, and also something that the tastes all go together. What are you skilled at preparing? We talked about that. And what are others like from previous meals? So you might have made it, you wanted it to be, somebody said it's going to be delicious. You don't want to make the same mistake you made before. If you made something, it didn't work out so well. And I've had some of those meals. I'm sure my family would attest. Didn't work out so well. So maybe I'm going to change and not do exactly that, or enhance it for the future. And how will you know if the recipe is a success? So somebody said they wanted it to be, the ends to be in mind, and to know what they wanted to make and how that was going to make people happy or full, or whatever it is that your goal is. And so you want to think about how you're going to know if your recipe was a success. So let's look at how this translates into inventing the blended learning recipe. So we're going to look at 3 different considerations today. What's the occasion and the purpose? Who the target audience is? And what are your limiting factors? So the occasion and purpose drive our development. So let's look at a few possible purposes and what types of mixing options can achieve those. All right, so let's think, I need your support on this, especially those who said that there were 3. What mixing options would you choose to provide trainer support to the participants? These are participants that really need that interaction with the trainer. Maybe it's a difficult topic and it's new to them, and they need all of the hand-holding they can get. So what types of mixing options would you put into your blended learning for trainer support? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Oh, that's great. WhatsApp group. I have a course right now, the instructional design course pilot, and they're doing a lot of coaching through WhatsApp. It's great. Have a recorded video and share it. I have a lot. Do so that'll feel like your trainer is teaching you. Oh, have an FAQ, so a place where they can put in questions and the facilitator can answer back. I like that. That's really great. Team coaching, very good. Or even individual coaching, great. Option to connect with a trainer after session for support and guidance. That's great. I like to do formal ones of those called office hours, online office hours. So just like perhaps you might remember from university, your professor would say, I'll be in my office from this time to this time. Feel free to stop by if you have questions. So you can actually host one of those online as well. And just open up a WebEx or open up a Zoom session, and anybody can join if they want to. Field visits. Oh, cool. A LinkedIn meet and greet, post-event chat groups, follow-up sessions. Great. There's lots of opportunity. Peter suggests Telegram for peer-to-peer learning. So there's lots of ways that you can have that interaction. You guys came up with a lot of good ones. And so most people think, okay, I'm just limited to a live online sessions, the webinars, but you're not. And nobody even mentioned that. Everybody came up with a great other options. So there's great ways to connect the learner and the facilitator and to allow for that interplay between them, one-on-one sessions. That's great. So lots of ways that they can participate together. They can also have your trainer can also do input into the discussion forums and be a person who kind of goes through that and answers those and poses more challenging questions and asks things. And that's a way to get facilitator support too. Great. So you can see your learner is not left on their own in a virtual session, in a virtual environment. They do not need to be at all. You can build that in. All right. So let's think about, what about group interactions? There's those of us who love to learn with group interactions. Some of us would rather just do it on our own. I understand that because I'm one of those. But if you like that group interaction, you might be feeling a little isolated if you're doing online learning. So what can you do? A mixing option for group interactions. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Group assignments, good. Breakout rooms for them to discuss in, excellent. Surveys and polls, fun. A learning buddy, I like that. Keep breaking them up in different groups. Don't always keep the same group, kind of randomize the groups so they get to know each other. Okay, make them do a group of project, that's good. The WhatsApp groups help with that, sure. Discussions, those discussion forums help. Very good. All right, so you guys definitely know how to do it for group interactions. Let's see then, what about mixing options for independent learning opportunities? How can you get your learner getting ready to learn on their own independently? What things could you do for them? Go ahead and put that in the chat. To do a research problem, either for a group to discuss or for the individuals to do. Give them time to reflect. I like that about blended learning. You have options, and we're going to talk about timing in a few minutes, but time to reflect in between things where a classroom doesn't always allow you that time. You can have a mini case study, you can have self-paced learning, give them things to read ahead of time so that they're ready when they come in to learn, self-paced modules, videos, personal work, homework assignment. Encourage them to be innovative, give pre-reads. Great. Very good. I think it's nice to break it up between like things that you read and things that you listen to, because there's different times in your day that you might have the opportunity to be able to listen to a podcast or something like that, where other times you might be able to sit down and look at something. So you can mix that between so that they can choose the type of learning that fits the moment. Maybe their commute, they could be listening to something, or while they're cooking their dinner, they could be listening to a podcast. And other times they'll want to be able to sit down and read something. So you can think through all of those different options and really assess your audience. So now, what ways that last for this section? What ways could you assess your participants? And I think On already knew that maybe that was the next slide because you answered test. That's okay. That's a good one. What are the ways can you assess if your participants are really learning? Go ahead and type in the chat. Quiz before and after, so you see what the knowledge gain was. Okay, good. What else? Okay, have them do individual assignments. So that'll be able to see, are they able to start applying it? Gamification. So if can you go in and build something that's a scenario and you're going in and they're doing different things and they get a grade at the end. Pre and post tests, progress reviews, role plays. Oh yeah, you're gonna know if they understood it, if they're able to do it in real time, right? An action plan, great. The quick quizzes, great. I like to do that as well. case scenarios. Very good. I like the discussion forums as well. And I know you hear me saying this a lot, but I think they're great because if you ask a really thought-provoking question to follow up something independently that they learn, and they need to get on and answer that in a very thoughtful way, then you know if they not only did they grab a hold of what you were teaching in that perhaps asynchronous environment, they grabbed a hold of it, but they began to really process it. And if your question is good enough, they'll be able to then process it and then be able to show you how that they've now embodied that learning and are able to move forward with it. So a group discussion is a really good way to see how that they're processing it as well. Oh, Kahoot, like a quiz. Those are fun. I like those. Great answers, you guys are great. All right, so now we talked about those different mixing things, but now our second topic is who is your target audience? And so many of you mentioned this when you know, because you've been in a lot of our other trainings, most of you, that we really talk about keeping your target audience in focus. So what you want to do is develop a learner persona to personify your audience. Take a second in chat and type yes if you have developed a learner persona for a course. Let me see if any of you are doing your learner personas. Simon is. Adela does. All right, great. Well, for those of you who don't know, a learner persona is like an archetype. It's a representation of your target audience. So you want this learner persona to embody the characteristics that's relevant to that target audience. So it's a fictitious, it's not a real person, but it's based on your knowledge of the target audience. It gives you a clear picture of your target audience so that you can select the correct mixing options that meet their needs and create the blending course for them. So let's explore this for a second, especially for those of you who are not doing that. So Quasi's about to do this. This is great. So pretend this woman is representative of your target audience. Type in the chat, what would you want to know about her? All right, her education level. Good. What else would you want to know about her? All right, her industry, her roles, her education, her experience. What's her ambitions? What are her interests? What's her job now? How does she like to learn? How old is she? Where is she from? What's her name? What are her learning needs? Her styles, her expectations of learning, her motivations. Good. Does she have time to attend? When does she have time to attend training? The weekend, or does she like to take her training at night, or is she going to take it during her work day? Why is she smiling? I like that one, Abdul. Where does she want to be in 10 years? So what's her goals, her aspirations? When and does she have time to learn, and when and how much and how frequently? And does she like it online? Does she like to learn more asynchronously or more synchronously, or does she want to attend something in person? Great. Those are great options. So for those of you who haven't done a learner persona, that's a learner persona. Answering those questions is not hard, but I do have a couple of hints for you. How satisfied is she? Does she have money to pay for this training, or maybe her company has money to pay for the training, or you know what, we need to make this super affordable because she doesn't. Those are great. That's a great thing. So I have 3 hints for you on persona development. Include a picture and a name. I think that just makes the whole, like my whole focus come really clear. When I pick a person, I give that person a name, and then I start to think about what are her hopes and aspirations. That's good, Yvonne. What are her expectations? What are her needs? And I think about I have my target audience in mind. It's not just all of the people out there. it's her, and I'm going to design for her, and she's going to embody the rest of the target audience. And I want to base the persona on research. So you don't want to just make it up of opinions of what you think about your target audience. You can get into trouble on that because you might have this target audience in mind and that might not be who really is going to be the audience. You might be off on that and didn't do your needs analysis well enough to understand your audience. And so you need to back up and understand that and understand who it is. And so you can start to build and get research. So if you're not the person doing that, push the person who's doing that needs analysis to bring you forward the information that you need to make a conscientious learner persona. And Adiola named her beautiful Josephine. I love that. And then invite others to collaborate on the persona. So don't just do it on your own. Bring other people into this because you will look at it from slightly different perspectives and be able to make a fuller learner persona that's more balanced. So those are my 3 hints for you on that. I go into it a lot more in several other courses, but we'll leave it there for now. But you have a good grasp now, your purpose and your audience. So now it's time to keep in mind some limiting factors. So each type of blended learning ingredient comes with its own limits. This course goes into depth on those, but we're just going to look at just one limitation today in this session. So we're going to think about our time. So you're limited by time and duration, regardless of what situation you're in. But the blended learning you're not as limited, but you want to offer options as the instructional designer for delivery scheduling. So you're going to think about how much time per day, per week, or the month can the participant really spend on the course. You can compact it or extend the course schedule to maximize the time participants can dedicate without exceeding it. So you gotta have your learner persona first to understand, beautiful Josephine, she is a busy working professional. She only has her lunch hour to take this course. She's got 2 lunch hours a week. So we're going to now have that course in bite-sized pieces that are at less than an hour twice a week for her, perhaps. So we think about what that learner persona can be able to do to want to think about how much time is needed for homework, independent work, self-study learning, and create the course schedule to accommodate time for this. So I'm in the middle of developing another course, and there is a very long homework that happens at the end of one of the modules. Well, the challenge there is that happens at the end of the first module, and the first module is supposed to happen in the morning, and the second module is supposed to happen in the afternoon. Does that person have time for a long homework assignment in between, basically on their lunch hour? No. So we need to move that longer homework assignment perhaps to the evening or perhaps to a weekend so that it happens when someone can actually do it. Think about how quickly do the participants need to finish the course and begin applying it. So maybe you were asked to do a training and you need to get it out, and these people need to be able to do this by July 1st. So you need to compact the training so that they're able to get it all done so that they're ready to go for the due date. Perhaps we don't have a timeline and we can stretch it out. So how much time can the trainer dedicate to the course? So it depends on how much trainer interactivity you put in, but you want to adapt the course schedule for the availability of the trainer as well. So maybe they've got, maybe they need to get it done before another project starts, or maybe they need to stretch it out because they have other things ongoing at the same time. How feasible is it to meet at the same time? So we are all over the world on this call. And so I know Anna has worked at figuring out what time is best for these webinars, because we've got an audience, we've got people, they're ready to go to bed. They've got people that woke up really early for this. And we try to pick a time that's best for everyone. So you want to think about how much time can they meet together and do something synchronous, and when would that be? So perhaps you have more or less of live online sessions because of that. So like any good recipe, you're going to include the parameters of time to create it. Let's go back to our smoothie analogy. So you could put it on the highest setting on the blender if you really want that smoothie mixed fast, right? Put it on high, grab that smoothie, you're out the door, you're ready to go. Maybe you want it really creamy, and so you're going to put it on low and let it go for several minutes, and then it's going to be super creamy. Or maybe you want to really stay involved in it and have it in a short spurt. So you want to stay at the blender and hit the pulse and keep going and make sure and get it exactly the way you want it to. All those things you can do with blended learning. You just need to put those options in for your facilitator. So let's look at some examples of how you do that. All right, so we have a course, and our example is that we have 2 1-hour live online learning sessions, 3 e-learnings, the asynchronous, and 1 assignment to do. So think about, let's see, in the here's over a 1-week session. So we have 1 week to do it. And so we think Monday, we're going to do 1 hour live online learning intro. Tuesday, no live online. We're just going to do 1 e-learning, and they need to start their assignment. Wednesday, we have 1 e-learning, and they're going to continue working on their assignment. Thursday, the 3rd e-learning, finish the assignment, submit it. Friday, close it out, have a 1 hour online session. So this is now 1 hour a day commitment, 1 hour a day commitment over a week's period. In the chat box, describe what aspects of a learner persona would appreciate this kind of scheduling. What would this type of person look like that would want this kind of scheduling? A mother with children, maybe somebody only has an hour, a nap time, or right before they get up in the morning to be able to, or after the kids go to bed, they have a little snippet of time to do a little bit of learning each day. Great. What other type of person might like this? A busy professional working full time. I had that example of beautiful Josephine doing it over her lunch hour. Good. A working professional, somebody who's a full-time employee, somebody who likes the discipline of something every day and not waiting till the end to catch up, but just get it going every day. Good. Very good. So I agree. I think a busy working professional would be a great, this would be a great way to structure a course for them to do on top of their job. So maybe somebody who travels a lot or who's busy throughout the day, they can squeeze this on a lunch hour, come in early in the morning to work and do it, or they're a mom and they're able to do it in between caring for the kids. That's great. But let's look at a different option just for the exact same course. What else could you do with it? So in this one, let's see, we have 2 days to get people trained quickly. Your client said 2 days, they got to be done with this and ready to go. Okay, so we can do day 1, start with a 1 hour live online, then they do 2 e-learnings, give them some time to do 2 e-learnings, and begin the assignment. So start the day with a live online and then time to work on their own the rest of the time. And day 2, they need to complete their 1 e-learning before you get on the live online, last closing live online session, and then submit your assignment. So maybe it takes maybe a half a day, 2 days in a row to do it. So you could tighten it up even further than this if you need to, and have them take the 3 e-learnings in the morning and then work on their assignment in the afternoon, and then have, you can start the day, you could make it 1 day, you could do it all, start with a live online, do all 3 e-learnings and their assignment, and then come back at the end of the day for the last live online if they really need to crunch it in. So there's lots of options. So we tightened it up to from 5 days to 2 days to 1 day. Let's look at stretching it out. So same thing, but over a span of time to allow for flexibility. You could have your launch day. Note I didn't put what day it was. Launch day where they have the live online session. Then you've got an interim period of time, could be 3 days, could be a week, could be a month. I wouldn't suggest that, but some amount of time to finish their 3 learnings in their assignment, and then have a closing day. So have kind of bookends on the course, and in the middle they have the ability to do whatever they want to at their own pace. What type of learner persona might appreciate this type of schedule? Go ahead and put it in the chat. One that's more stretched out and open. Ooh, somebody with a lot on their plate. Busy people, yes. People that maybe aren't behind their desk all day, salespeople who are out on calls. Good. Someone who has a strong commitment to finish, but maybe doesn't have the maybe same kind of day every day, so they don't know when their free time is going to be, and they can plan around a different kind of varying schedule. Very good. Someone who needs to work around internet connectivity, that's good. So maybe they can download all of the e-learnings, um, at night when the internet gets better or something like that, and be able to take it, but they're not honed into specific times. Great. People who are great geographically uh, dispersed. Great. Somebody who might not have the energy level, maybe they were sick or something like that, and they need to have some more flexibility in there. Very good. That's awesome. All right. So blended learning affords the instructional designer, the participant, and the trainer maximum flexibility. Before we wrap up this session on the recipe, let's look at a few things that we need to make sure are in our recipe. We want to make sure in a recipe we include the environment, the tools, and the ingredients needed. Think about a regular recipe, right? The order of preparation and how to monitor completion. You want to put the mixing it up. I didn't go into this, have to cut something for the sake of time. So I didn't go incredibly in detail on these in this session, but if you want more information on these specifically, you'll definitely want to take the self-study course. So I go into here, give you a template of to use to develop the recipe, and tools to help you build your learner persona, your scheduling options, those types of things are all in the e-learning. So go there if you want more information on this. Let's tackle this last option, preparing the execution of the mix. So you ready to do it? Now we're actually ready to make it. So let's look at this in a flipped kind of scenario. Let's start off by looking at a little backwards. Type in the chat window a way you could ensure that your course, now think about it, you're the instructional designer, so your course is going to be done by someone else, a facilitator. What could you do to ensure that your course is not a success? Just like putting onions in a smoothie would probably make it not a success. Go ahead and type in the chat window. Go ahead. All right, let's see. The answers are starting to come in. So don't consider the needs of the participants. Don't care about them at all. Don't do a learner persona. Don't think about how they would like to learn, the motivations, any of those things. If they have internet or whatever, don't even think about that. Nope. And cluster it together with no direction. Just put all sorts of stuff crazy thrown in, and don't even care. Don't even tell them the instructions to do it. Throw every single thing you can possibly think of in there. Don't involve participants. Don't have any information in there for your facilitator to act like they know anything. Don't help them prepare. Don't have involvement. Pick some ingredients that just don't work, that people will be frustrated by. Don't match the course with the training needs. Don't even know any, use the same few tools and resources, and don't even add anything else interesting. Don't think about the satisfaction of your participants. Just randomly put things together. Don't consider how much time they have. Give them so much that they are just drowning. Don't care about their learning needs. Lecture at them. Absolutely. So you guys, this is the same thing as instructional design for the classroom. You have to keep your participants in mind, and you have to prepare that facilitator for success. So you want to set those indicators of measurement. That's great. Very good. You guys know how to mess up a smoothie, mess up a course. That's good. Thinking about too, some frustrations that I've had in taking some blended courses is when like a link doesn't work to something, some part of the technology doesn't work. The directions don't work of how to get there. I don't even know where I'm supposed to go to do the next thing. They don't give me enough time to process or actually do the stuff. The learning path Oh man, for blended learning, it can get so complicated. All the different things you need to go here and do this, and then go here and do this, and when is this doing? All this stuff and get so confused. You do not want to leave them confused. So let's look at how to set up your course for success. You want to make sure that you understand how each of the options that you choose back when you're inventing the recipe, how they work. So translate that into your course and into the trainer preparation. So make sure that the trainer and the participants know how to access and use each element. Do not assume that they know how to get to a certain thing. Do they know how to use Jamboard? Do they know how to make the articulate rides play? Do they know how to do that walk through the gamification that you did? Do they know how to play a podcast? Don't assume anything. Put all of those instructions in there. You also need to provide the bigger picture and the details on how the components kind of fit together and why they're there and what's the purpose for each one. So you want to be clear on the flow of the course and how each ingredient fits into that flow and the purpose. Let the facilitator know that because they might not get it. And some of the things that the ingredients you include might be new to them. And help the participant understand that too, how to move through the blended ingredients and use them for the purposes that you intended. So let's look first at the facilitator, setting them up for success. What could you do to help your facilitator make a splash with your course? Go ahead and put it in the chat. You're the instructional designer. You want to set your facilitator up for success. What could you do to help them? Make the course simple to understand. Yes, make the flow simple, help them to understand the material that you have, give them the information to lead an icebreaker, give them the information they need to prepare, give them an introduction to the course and an understanding of it. Absolutely. Provide them with the tools for success. In the actual e-learning of this, I give you an example template that you can use on a trainer kit. And let them know the objectives. What are they doing? So provide the facilitator with that trainer's kit, and that has in there, why did you include, what are each of the different elements, those mixing options? What do they mean? How do you get to them? How do you use them? What's the purpose of them? All those things in there, as well as that roadmap. Great, the roadmap to be able to then know how the learning path goes, how to keep your participants flowing through the learning path, all of those things. Don't assume that they're knowledgeable about how to use or facilitate any of the course ingredients, because some of them might not be, or they might be used to doing it in one way in a platform that you're changing up the platform. Give them the instructions, provide them a plan for how to do what you intended, or your course might not be used correctly and it might not achieve its purpose. So give them everything that you can. If you're able to have a TOT on it, give them the opportunity to ask questions. That's a great one, of things that they don't understand. So allow them that space as they're learning, especially as they're getting used to blended learning. That's very new to some people. They're used to just a webinar or just an asynchronous learning, but putting all of it together and having different options is new to some people. So assume that and build that in. Help them understand they need to invest in that preparation time. Very good. All right, here's some of the things that I thought of for preparing the participants to succeed. So now think about the participants on the other side. They need the same things. We need to make sure that the course and flow are simple to comprehend and follow. And we need to test all of the parts of the mix. No hiccups, no broken links, no things that don't work, no things that they get to and they can't log into or they're blocked out of. Be clear on the overall course structure and the individual pieces. Give clear instructions. Allow them time to figure out how to access and use each course ingredient. Understand that they might be new to some of these things. Give them time. Don't have them on really short timelines if it's something that's new to them. Allow opportunities to ask questions. Several people have mentioned that. Time the schedule to complete assignments. We talked about that. Adapt the schedule to the target audience availability. So we gave you a few options a few slides ago on that. Check for understanding and application all throughout. So we talked about ways that you can test and assess. Don't wait till the very end. Put it throughout so a facilitator knows if someone's falling behind, doesn't get it, those types of things. Something's unclear. And provide technological tips and assistance and context. Give them somebody to holler for if they're having a rough time logging into something or getting something. So now you're ready for a few tips, with a few tips on blended learning. And the self-study course version of this course goes into a lot more detail on these things as well, and other things to support your journey in converting classroom-based training to blended learning. Let's see what you're going to take away. These are the key takeaways I had from today. I had that you're going to master the options you can use to creatively convert your classroom training to the best mixing option for your blended learning, and invent the recipes for the purpose, target audience, and keeping in mind your limiting factors, and then executing the mix to set up the facilitator and the participants for success. And again, here's the self-study version if you want more of those tips. But I'm excited to hear what you're going to use from what you learned today. What are you going to continue sipping on? Share in the chat your takeaway from today. And then we'll open it up for questions. Make it simple for the learner. Good. Have backup plans to diversify online training. So have different options in your back pocket to use that you have creativity. Blending different things. So you got some ideas. Quasi is never going to do something without a learner persona again. Very good. All right. Learner persona. Clear directions. Oh my goodness. The thing is with online, with the virtual blended learning, if you give an unclear direction in a classroom, you can see in their faces that they don't get it, or you can see that they don't start doing what you intended them to do because you're watching them. You're seeing, oh, nobody got started doing what I just did, or everybody, I matched them up in pairs and I asked them to answer this question and nobody's talking. They must not understand. But in a virtual blended session, you might have, if you have unclear directions, you just might have no one turning something in or no one doing it, and you don't know why. You don't know if they forgot, didn't have time, haven't gotten to it yet, don't have any idea, didn't learn. You don't know what the deal is. So make your directions as clear as possible. Things to mix and create a new formula, diverse methods, structuring your blended learning course, giving more than just those virtual sessions periodically, like bringing all these different options into it. That's great. Anybody else? Yes, those trainees and their interests and expectations, that learner persona. Very good. All right. Well, I'm glad you're going to take something away. And now we can open it up for questions. If you have a question, you can feel free to type it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and ask a question. And Anna, I don't know if I saw any questions hit the chat box. Do you have any from earlier?
No, Mandy, I don't. I think you addressed all the questions and comments so far. So
Okay.
if you have a question, please type it in chat, or you can also raise your hand and we will let you speak. Okay.
I like that. Making the new norm efficient and attractive the target participants. I think people are getting a little tired of having all things being webinars, and so making it blended is a great alternative to that. Huang asks, can I share a blended program that you are very happy with? Right now, we are piloting the instructional design course with GLC. And instructional design, for those of you who are, it's not something you can learn in a couple of days. It's something that takes a while for you to sit into and learn and understand and practice and be just have feedback on and all those things. And so what I did is I took and I thought, you know what, it needs to actually be a college level class, in my opinion, because instructional design is college level. And so we took it a 12-week course, and we implemented one live touch point with facilitator each week. So every other week it's a live online session that is not intended to teach. It's more intended to reflect, apply, catch up, get feedback, share best practices, and those types of things. So you're there with your cohort and your facilitator every other week. The off week is an online office hour where you the facilitator gets on and they can share, just be there to answer questions, and participants can jump on and ask questions as they're completing their assignments. Throughout this, there are 17 e-learnings on different parts of various, kind of stepping them through the process of instructional design. So they take those throughout the 12 weeks. And then they're building on their deliverables. So you don't just, when an instructional designer, you just start with a blank piece of paper and poof, you have a course, right? You have steps in between. And so each step in between is a deliverable that they turn in, and they get feedback from the facilitator. Sometimes they have a coaching session, sometimes it's just written feedback. They also have an ongoing discussion board. So each e-learning has a thought-provoking question for them to apply or think through or discuss. And so they go on a discussion forum and they chat back and forth on a specific question on e-learning. And what else is there in that one? That's basically what they have. They've chosen to do group coaching as well as individual coaching on that one. So they have both of those kind of interactions. So that is going really well. So that's the most recent fresh thing that I can share on things that are going well. But what I found is that not everybody was used to learning like that. Everybody was used to either doing an e-learning, or they were used to doing a live online session, but mixing both and having deliverables and having things a little bit longer is something new, and that they need a lot of instruction and kind of really clear directions, like we were saying. So that is my lesson learned and my thing I'm most happy with that's recent. So thank you for that question. I'm backing up now. I enjoyed all of you too. This has been great. Let's see. What questions am I missing, Anna? I'm trying to scroll back through those.
These are mostly comments.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. And also just, one second, I think there's a question, virtual plus e-learning plus face-to-face blended learning. Okay, so I guess that's my comment. And I also just shared all the links to the events and the resources that I was mentioning in my introduction, including the webinar that Mandy delivered a few months ago. If you would like to watch it again, please do. Okay, what else? Well, I guess we have some organizational questions, such as, can we get the slides? And can we blend all three? Can we blend all three?
What was, I don't know that I understand all three of what Quasi is. Probably something I was talking about.
Quasi, would you please clarify your question? Is this recorded? Yes. This session is recorded. We will share it with you. Most likely it will be on June 28th, Monday. So it usually takes us a little bit of time to get the recording, so please bear with us. And I also wanted to remind everyone, as we reiterated a few times, this webinar was based on the self-paced course. So if you would like to get a better understanding of the topic, please take the self-paced course. It's offered on the OLC platform free of charge, no strings attached, and it also comes with very helpful handouts.
Quasi, I see the rest of your question. How about blended learning and physically doing one session? Absolutely. I think it's great to mix blended learning, and if you're able to do physical in person with it, mix it in. That's wonderful. In the age of COVID, we haven't had that luxury as much, but kind of goes back to the original example I used of back in school. You would have a classroom time, and then you would have homework that you did ahead of it or after it to check it, prepared for a test, you did independent learning, all of those things. So absolutely you can bring physical in to the blended learning if you're able to. It makes it fun, and then it makes whatever time that you're together, whether you're in the same room or you're on the same Zoom, you can use that time more productively, so you don't have to use it for lecturing or teaching the information, conveying the information. You can use it for applying and practicing and discussing, and those things that really move that learning forward. All right, we have a couple more minutes. Does anybody have? Thanks, I came up with that on the spot. Any more questions?
Questions about the webinar, the topic, or anything else that we discussed today? Well, if not, then I guess we can wrap up this session. So Mandy, thank you very much for conducting a fantastic, very exciting, engaging session. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Once again, so we will see you next month. As usual, we conduct these webinars every third Thursday of the month. So that has become our good tradition. And soon, actually, we will be celebrating a year since we started these webinars. So in the meantime, please enjoy yourself, enjoy summer. I hope it's as warm and sunny as it is here in Washington, D.C. And please stay safe. Okay, and we'll see you all in July. We'll be back in touch with the follow-up. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.